Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Green Arrow FPL podcast from Fantasy Football Hub as we approach both game weeks 13 and 14 with chips active and a song in our hearts with so much football coming up on the horizon. My name is Fergi, and I'm joined today, as usual, by my co-host, the brilliant Rich Clarke. Rich, how are you? And what colour was your arrow in game week 12?
Good evening, everyone. Hi, Fergie. I'm good, mate. I got a nice big green arrow last week.
More than half your rank. More than
Yeah,
half your rank, mate. You're
yeah,
on fire.
another great week. I think this one got a bit lucky. Looked into why, but I've been taking on the lack of Arsenal defence for a couple of weeks now, and I got away with it last week. I don't know about you. You were probably praying for a Tottenham goal just to stop the pain last weekend, but I really needed a Tottenham goal just to stop the clean sheets for Arsenal. So that when that Richarlison goal, which had a 0.07 xG associated with it, when that went in, I was running around the room, even though it was only a consolation, mate. So yeah, that certainly helped. But my transfer in of Minte certainly worked out. He pulled an 11-pointer, so that was lovely. And I've owned Munoz for a while for the very reason that he's capable of pulling off 14 pointers with some regularity. So yeah, some good high haulers. Anderson again coming in with a 10-pointer. He's been great. Yes, the price hasn't gone up in price. I mean, he's been really, really good. And almost, I mean, this would have made you really sick. There was all that business about Semenyo missing out, and in the end, he did. Well, I had, bought Krupi Jr. the other week, and I was pretty sure he stood a good chance of starting. And I don't know if you saw the highlights, but he had a one-on-one with the keeper, and he brought off a brilliant save. So even the Krupi points would have come if that had gone in. So nearly locked out on some bench jam. But yeah, really good, 60 points, and into the top 150k for the first time. I don't know if you remember last year, mate. We were going through all sorts of pain by game week 12 last year, and I look back at my
you
records.
Just bought Salah, I think, this week.
I think I just about got Salah in at that time, and I was 3.97 million at this time last season. So yeah, what a difference! It just feels so different to be contending. So very happy.
You are riding on the crest of a wave, as they say, mate. Absolutely fly at the moment, and everything you're touching is turned into gold, which is when you've got that momentum and confidence, and as you say, a little bit of luck maybe, but your team is there, mate. Anderson, Munoz, they've been there all the way through, and they're there for a reason. Good for DEFCON, attacker returns, everything else, but you're absolutely flying. So really, really well played. I'm really, really pleased for you. I had a good week, not as good as yours. You scored 60 and halved your rank. I had 50. I had the assist off Timber, obviously, which was good. Bournemouth players both attack and defence continued to frustrate. Just a 1-pointer for Petrovic. Had Virgil's point. I got Rodon off the bench for Semenyo with just the 3 points. Oddly, Mukiele had 4 on my bench, and even Mark Gui had 4 points on my bench. So I had the lowest scoring points on my bench, but it kind of is. He got DEFCON, which is important.
Something.
The hero of my week, well, obviously Munoz, but I had Enzo as well, who came
good. Finally came good.
88th minute. It was one of those, and I've got him in other formats as well, and he's done nothing for weeks. And when he scored the 88th minute, it was a proper. It felt like I haven't had that kind of goal, that sort of differential goal late on like that for a while, and I don't often I gave it the
well done. I sold him out to get Saka about 3 or 4 weeks ago, and I've been getting away with it because he's been putting up some great numbers and just not returning the points. So if you held on to him in the audience, then well done. It was a good deserved haul.
Yeah. So I wildcarded in game week 10. I think it was about 2.6 million. So I'm 1.7 now. So I've gone up 900k in 3 game weeks. Green, small green, bigger green. I'm on the right path. I've got 2 free transfers. Likely, I think it's likely, Rich, to say we're probably both going to free hit this week. And then looking at my team going into game week 14, it's absolutely mint. It's mint A. So I can't see me using more than 1 transfer unless obviously there's injuries and stuff. But goodness me, my team for 14, it's like all my players have got plum fixtures. And then obviously we'll talk about it a lot now, but we've got the headaches then of the whole AFCON. You've got the wildcard headache on top of that as well, and the rotation stuff as well. But we'll talk about that in a bit. But you're flying. I'm reasonably content. Green arrows. Life is okay. FPL life is okay. And lots of football on the horizon, which is the main thing. Welcome everyone in the chat. We've got loads of you in with us this evening. Easy Paul, Helgerid from Norway. I'm 1974 says triple captain on Oscar Bob. I'm not too sure about that. Whether you're going to? Oh no, it's a joke about Haaland. I think they were having a triple captain active on fellow Norwegian citizen. It was a joke about Oscar Bob there. FPL Freddy says free hit in use. What can go wrong? Alan Pup is in, says triple captain Haaland this week. Graham says, do you have to use the free hit just because it's there? You don't have to use it. You can burn it if you want, but it's probably worth using it if you have a poorish week. Peter Clinch, who's having a fantastic season, says, evening fellow free hitters. And I'm not supposed to. How are you all on Salah and non-Arsenal defenders feeling about free hit? This is the thing. We're going to talk about the kind of risks and the EO and all that jazz now. Janik Kalioski is in. Steve Foy says, afternoon fellow Spaffers, Immortal, Trekney, Colin Johnston, Mad Dan 87. I must have a username, and so many more. Thank you so much all for joining us as we look ahead this incredibly busy period. Let's have a look at the lie of the land then. We've got the fixture ticker. Newcastle on top at the moment. Away to Everton in 30, which is a toughish week. And then back-to-back home games against Spurs and Burnley, which is decent. Liverpool, good fixtures, poor form, absolutely unbelievable form. Is it right, Rich? I think they've lost 6 of their 7 last home games, or last league games. Crazy like that. I didn't realize it was that bad.
And it was, and I don't know if you saw the game last night, but they were really bad last night.
It's unbelievable how bad.
Not too bad going forward still, which is obviously a talking point. But yeah, they were shocking. They were like a open bucket last night. They really were. I don't know what to say. I mean, I think if anybody. We had Charlie on the other week, who's a big Liverpool fan. I don't think he could. He was the most optimistic of Liverpool fans. I don't think he could explain what's going wrong now. No, absolutely, real dilemma.
Yeah, they've got the fixtures, and we'll talk about them. City's fixtures are good as well, as are United's from next week, and then right down the bottom we've got Sunderland, Leeds, West Ham. Tough fixtures over the next few, along with Everton and Wolves. So, Rich, what's your take on this coming period?
Well, I think the reason we've got the Game Week 13 and Game Week 16 boxed off here is just to have a quick discussion around choice of week to free hit. There's been quite a lot of content around that this week, and Game Week 16 does look a good alternative to Game Week 13, particularly if you have a triple captainship, as some of our audience do, and want to play it on Haaland this week against Leeds. Totally get that. It's a very good week to use the triple captain. And so if you're looking for a subsequent week to use the free hit, then Game Week 16 looks almost as good, I would say, just in my view, as Game Week 13. I mean, if we just talk about free hit for a second, I think the reason Game Week 13 appeals to me personally is I still have a wild card left, and therefore I can use the wild card in Game Week 16 versus the free hitters to set for the Christmas period and AFCON and so on and so forth. So that's a very small percentage of people have a wild card left. I think about 8% or something. So I know I'm fortunate there, but equally it's still a good week to use it in 16. In 13, we've got Arsenal playing Chelsea. Which is possibly 4 or 5 players in the typical template team.
Yeah.
We've got Palace playing United, which is another 4 or 5 players in the typical template team. So you've got almost 3/4 of a team there, of a starting 11 there, that are playing each other in this week. And so to me, that gives you an opportunity to go against it with the players from the other teams and the other matchups. And then when we come to those other matchups, we've got 2 promoted sides plus Wolves in away games against high upside opposition. So therefore it presents quite a straightforward opportunity to set up a very differential free hit squad to that template look and feel side. And when you can go totally against the template, there is risk with it, but there is also upside. So, and what do you think of that? Would you say any more there, or would you? I mean, you were just talking about hedging, weren't you, before we came on air? And I think that's a good point.
I think it's not even so much hedging per se. Is our teams are as they are, not only because of fixtures, right? They're there because you've got such informed teams in play. Like Arsenal look absolutely outstanding at the moment, and I haven't seen many free hit teams with Saka and Timber in, for example. Now I own both Saka and Timber. If I take him out a free hit, like what's to stop Arsenal going in and winning 2-0 away at Chelsea? It's kind of an expected result. And the same for me. A big one for me is Palace. Like I really fancy Palace. Obviously, we get to see them this evening. But judging how United played last week, that Palace United game, for me, Sa for me has got. I can't back this up anything with other than kind of what I've seen and felt recently. But Sa tends to turn up in these big games. Didn't he score in I think he scored in the FA Cup final. He may have scored in the Charity Shield or wherever it is. He seems to turn up and score against the bigger teams.
He scores in cup competitions and matches outside of the Premier League. He keeps bracing in those games.
Oh yes, of course, because he scored a brace.
Europe, the EFL Cup away at Liverpool.
He does. But he's always, he plays every game and he's there or thereabouts. He's a fabulous player. Mateta's it seems very hot and cold sort of points wise, but harking back to game week 9 when you had that ridiculous performance against Bournemouth, he's very capable. He's on penalties. And then Munoz, I mean, do you really want to go into any game, any week without the most attacking defender in the league in your team? I've seen a lot of players going without him again. I just think the way United, and again, it's a combination of how good Palace are and how informed that team and those players are, but also how poor United were last week. And I know they've improved, but I can't see United going and doing a job on Palace unless something happens this evening in the Europa game. So I feel there's a lot of risk there on Palace especially. So they're the two teams mainly I'm kind of nervous around. And again, I keep going back on this. If you remember when we were talking about Yolandi from EastEnders a few weeks ago around her comments about just use the buffers to keep your thing instead of completely ripping what is a really good FPL team, like the both of us and most people watching and listening to this, got really good FPL teams. There's a lot of thought put into them. We've got the form players. They're scoring well each week. The average at the moment is it's reasonably high, I think. Are we really going to just rip all that up and bet on
Villa and Brentford
and Villa and the answer is probably yes.
Yes, probably.
and
Liverpool.
Liverpool.
Who've lost laughing stock of the Premier League.
Conceded 10 goals at home in their last 3 games. You're just like, what is going on? So
I mean, it is, if you remember rightly, free hit. It is feast or famine. Last year, I think we got. It was a similar situation where everybody loaded up on the whipping boys against the top teams, if you remember rightly. I think it was game week 34, very popular week to free hit. I got 100 points, that week. Because it all came off, the defenders all got returns like Aït-Nouri and people like that. I mean, it was recent enough to remember that week. It was a fantastic week. And I was actually away on holiday and didn't really think much. I just put the template free hit into play and it returned about 100 points, where the previous year, when we only had 1 free hit, it was a disaster because we played it in a blank game week and it was the lowest scoring week. I think it was that ex-Tottenham player was playing for Brentford, got sent off in the first minute or something, got a red card, and it all went. There were no subs, were there? Because there was only 4 teams playing.
I think I had the keeper as well. I think I had double Brentford in the 8th minute, red card, conceded penalty, goal conceded, game week over.
Yeah, so it was the worst week. So it really is, feast or famine. It's going to be a very, very swingy week this week, and so you'll see plenty of narratives out there.
Plenty of angry
about
teenagers on Twitter.
How stupid it was to free hit, Fergie. So
it's going to be interesting, and I think just talking that out loud, which I like to do with you every Thursday, it does help me kind of put a few things into my mind around like we've just said, going all in on Brentford. But obviously, City are probably are probably a different sort of a prospect. But Brentford, Villa, and particularly Liverpool, I mean, Brentford and Villa are playing okay and they're having okay results. But
they're both good. They're both good at home. That's the thing.
Yeah,
Good. And Brentford have played kind of all the tough teams at home as well, and they've beaten most of them. You know, and they are doing exceptionally well. So yeah, I mean,
captain locked in.
Yeah, unbelievable.
But yeah, so and in terms of your wild card, Rich, I couldn't figure this out earlier. My tiny brain it couldn't compute quickly enough just before we went live around. You said about wild carding in game week. Was it 16?
16, yeah.
Can you please talk me through that? Because I still
why I would
and the logic.
Why I would. Well, if I was to wild card this week instead and hold the free hit, then I would have to I couldn't really play the upside of the games we're talking about, because I don't really want a team full of Brentford players when their following games, if we look at the ticker, are against Arsenal away and Tottenham away. So I couldn't load up on Brentford. I could get Thiago, but then I'd have to carry him through Arsenal and Tottenham. I don't really want any Villa players for more than 1 week, and it's only because they're playing Wolves at home that I want. the free hit upside is there in this week on the fixtures only. My team for Gameweek 14, when I revert to it, is also not quite in the superb category that you described your own, but it's still pretty good. What I have to do is perhaps correct the Van Dijk mistake that many of us made, and maybe just swap him back to an Arsenal defender to cover that week somewhat. That can be my transfer in Gameweek 14. But apart from that, my team is fine for Gameweek 14. Then I've only got one more week to survive, if you like, in Gameweek 15 before we get all the AFCON transfers. And I think there'll be enough going on by Gameweek 16 for me to put a wild card in place at that point. One, to combat the free hitters, who will have less of a different team, and they'll still have a good team on free hit, but it'll be less of a different team to the template, and I can cover that with the wild card, but set it for longer, and then have my 5 AFCON transfers on the other side, so without needing to use any of them. So that's my logic, because I can play the markets, which will be extremely volatile when 60 million transfers get handed out in 1 week. And some people will use that week to play the markets and restructure their team. I can play the markets with the wildcard unlimited, build some team value up, and then have 5 transfers from game week 18 onwards. So that's my logic.
I've got it, mate. I just couldn't. I couldn't compute it, because I was thinking about if you get the 5 transfers for AFCON, why would you possibly? Well, of course you can carry them through, as you say, and you're basically getting that AFCON advantage, but you're not going to use it in that week as everyone else or most others are, right? You're going to use them a bit later on. Just thinking it a little bit more around those AFCON sort of transfers as well. And I haven't given them too much thought. I don't like to think too far ahead, because I do think that things change so much, sort of month on month, in terms of the context of the game, in terms of form, in terms of specific players, etc. But those 5, I've been thinking, I'll use them to transform my team in game week 16. But obviously, you don't have to do that, do you? You can just sort of, play 1, play 2, hold 3, carry 1, and and kind of and carry them all through for, till game week 19 or 20 or even onwards, can't you? So I think I've been thinking a bit too sort of binary in terms of you get the 5 and then you'll be back. So,
and it'll all start to unravel, won't it? I mean, as we get into Christmas, we'll get a lot of injuries that we don't know about. We'll get a lot of rotation, and it's all very well to say, "Oh, well, here I am with my 5 transfers." I reckon by New Year they'll have all gone. Just navigating Christmas or playing some upside. And we'll be back, scraping the barrel again. But if you can manage to get through January with 2 or 3 in the bank, then it does set you up for the early doubles and the blanks to come around game week 24 onwards. So it's quite a nice. I didn't ask for them to give us these transfers. I think at the beginning of the season, that was the rule change that we didn't really like, didn't it? Because we want, the harder the game is, the better we think we'll do.
Well, I think it has almost made, as I'll say this, and people will laugh, rightly so. It makes it too easy. I don't think it makes the game easy. It just makes it easy to stick with the template. You don't need to play with any variation if you don't want to, and you can just you can just have the team you want every week, which is not that's not fantasy, is it? The whole point of fantasy is to have to make really tough decisions on who you can go with, who you can't, having to wait a week for a certain player because you haven't got the transfers, and do I take a hit, and that whole balance. Whereas having 5 over Christmas, it's just it's just FPL saying,
yeah, have a tin of quality.
Have the
street.
team you want over.
Yes,
in a quality street.
Yeah,
I love that.
exactly.
Brilliant.
Yeah,
Brilliant.
yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Let's have a look at some players to target specifically for this week. Both obviously from a free hit view, but if you're not playing free hit moving forward, most of these look like they are free hit esque. Rich, do you want
to? They are. I mean, the thing is that Pep did us a real favour with his completely rotated team on Tuesday. I think he made 10 changes to the side for their defeat against Bayer Leverkusen. And so at half-time, he was clearly very unhappy with the performance. City were losing already. And the first 3 players he brought on were, two are in this picture, were Doku, O'Reilly, and who was the third one he brought on? I had it.
I think it was Foden at half-time,
I
wasn't
think it was Foden. Yeah, these 3 were the ones he brought on straight at the beginning of the second half to put things right. Now, they failed to put things right, but it's clearly an indication that he should revert to his first and preferred 11 because his rotated team didn't completely perform. So he's given us as much of a clue as he's going to on what the City starting lineup is for the weekend. And the reason most of us don't have 3 City assets in fantasy football is we just don't know who's going to start for City. If we knew who was going to start every week, we would pretty much all be rocking 3 City players every week because they have such high potential. So it's a really good week to get on City, and I think these are the 3 in addition to Haaland that you are picking 2 from. So I'm really torn, actually. I'm really torn between Foden and Doku. Although Foden is the more expensive and can just about be afforded, I'm not sure he's the best choice if you know Doku's going to start. So yeah, I'm not sure about that one, but yeah, I like them all. I think O'Reilly might be going up in price tonight, so therefore he's a good one to grab hold of if you are activating the free hit, but also possibly if you're looking for an actual transfer in and you're not free hitting. I think O'Reilly is probably the best pick for an actual free transfer to be used as well this week out of all the people on this chart. So it is free hit esque, but I actually like O'Reilly going forward. He's clearly first choice over Aït-Nouri. Aït-Nouri might get a few more minutes before AFCON, but he really wants to go to AFCON, and I think given the fact that Pep's given him a start, he might get a few appearances off the bench. But O'Reilly should be safe through Christmas as the preferred left back. So I really like him as a pick. And then on Brentford side, if you're going to buy a striker this week, Thiago looks really the only option you can realistically go for or should go for. Certainly, if you're looking to hedge against free hitters, he'll be on every free hit that is out there this week. But if you're going for it and you want to play the upside of an attacking Brentford team against Burnley, then Kevin Schade is the other pick I've put on here. You could, if you're strapped for cash. Schade is 7 million. There's also a 6 million option in Dango, who didn't make the picture, but again, he's another nice option if you want double Brentford attack. I'm not sure who else I nominated for Scott to put on here, but I certainly would have mentioned some Villa assets as well. Morgan Rogers scored a brace last week, a lovely Ronaldo-esque free kick towards the end of the game. So he looks like he's picked up the talisman mantle while Ollie Watkins has been disappointing. Rogers is back on form and should do well at home to Wolves. So Rogers I would also add into this mix as well. What do you think, mate?
Yeah, as you say, the 3 teams we're kind of looking at, due to the quality of the position, I think, and the fact that they're all home. Brentford and Villa, you said, are really good at home, and City as well. Obviously, just in addition, there's Nunes to O'Reilly. I'm maybe not as convinced as you, Rich, that Aït-Nouri has really lost his place. I might be wrong. I know he goes off to AFCON, doesn't he, in game week. 16. But I obviously think the fact that he started on Tuesday and then and came off is probably enough to say that O'Reilly starts his next two. But I'm maybe not as bullish as you are. I think Nunes is safer. I think O'Reilly, when he plays, clearly has the better attacking upside. The Nunes is pretty decent as well. Who's your favourite out of Foden and Doku, in a word? All being equal.
Doku.
Well, okay, yeah.
Just in terms of
like him.
Upside and explosiveness, I think he may not get 90 minutes, but Foden is not the Foden of 2 years ago, is he? He's been getting minutes and good starts, but he's only scored once, I think, this season.
He's played 90 minutes, I think, in his last. I had it up earlier. He's played 90 minutes in like the last 8 or 9 games or something.
Yeah, so he's safe pick.
He scored 1 goal in the last 8 game weeks, according to Matthew Ivy, though he did score 2 in the Champions League game a couple of weeks ago, didn't he? So when City won 5-1 or something like that. So yeah, it's a tough one. I think the way that Doku looked, especially against Liverpool, I thought he looked fantastic. Apparently Leeds, FPL Freddy says Leeds have Longstaff and Stack both out against City, potentially make City even more attractive. So and on Brentford, obviously there's there are those forwards. You've got the defenders as well, probably Collins and Kelleher. What about Ollie Watkins? I can't believe we haven't even mentioned Ollie Watkins, who was playing up front.
Yeah. And I think there was he was quite popular on free hit, or there were people. He did grab a brace in one game last week after he blanked. There was a popular free hit week, and he managed to return a brace that week for people that went with him. So yeah, he could absolutely smash it against Wolves. So if you want a real differential, even amongst free hitters, I haven't seen many drafts with Watkins in them. Because a lot of people are going for 3-5-2 setups with Thiago and Haaland and don't really want to shift the 9 million up front. But yeah, Watkins is definitely on there. But you could go for all 3 City attackers and just go for it, and that's then have a back 4 made up of Brentford and Villa.
And Munoz.
And Munoz, yeah. I mean, there's lots of ways you can organise it, and it's probably tonight is the night I'll have a little shuffle around and play with those combinations.
So Liverpool are away to West Ham, and we haven't even talked about them yet. Salah is probably the linchpin in lots of this, in terms of if you don't go with Salah, it feels like you can basically have any team you want. If you go with Salah, you may have to have a sacrifice, as in, you may have to go with Doku instead of Foden. You may not be able to have Munoz, for example, kind of wherever it is, or even have a third forward. But Liverpool really disappointing again last night. I think West Ham are going to fancy their chances on the weekend. That's not to say that Liverpool may not score a couple of goals, but I definitely fancy West Ham to score a goal or two the way they've been playing. What are your thoughts on the whole Liverpool and Salah situation on free hit?
Well, it's a real mess, isn't it? I was thinking it was all going to come right there. Virgil, who like many I bought last week, I was thinking, well, okay, just keep the faith here. West Ham are terrible at set pieces. Virgil, very likely to get a big chance against West Ham. And do you keep Virgil alongside Munoz? But Salah is the big one. He's still 14.2 million. There's no way he's justifying that price tag. But because he's off to AFCON, this sort of opportunity for a nostalgic swan song of FPL points is right there, isn't it, for free hitters? And it is very tempting to get him in. But it's probably tempting to get it in because he's affordable, because you can do it. And I think that is really... I don't know. It just seems like a fallacy spending an extra 5-6 million over and above. Having maybe the 3 or 4 of the guys you see in that picture there. You can actually just get Doku and Foden, and they add up to Salah. But both of them together are far more likely to outscore him than spending all the money on one guy. So I don't think you have to have him. And it's actually interesting to see that you've gone without him on your draft, I think. So
I haven't really thought about him, mate. I really haven't. I think the only, if you were playing FPL for the first time this season, there would be no way in the universe you would be even contemplating Salah. And that's not to say that that's either an edge, maybe one way or another. But we have got sort of the PTSD potentially of one owning Salah and enjoying all his hauls, but then not owning him. But because you're not going to captain him anyway, I just don't feel he's just that scary anymore.
No.
And apparently some Liverpool fans are calling for him to be rested. I think who was it last night? Was it Carragher or someone was saying that he's looking a bit leggy and all and all this jazz. And they play twice in 3 or 4 days. He's just
and he got some stick last week for not running back, didn't he? And helping out against Forest. So yeah, it's I don't know. You've certainly got me thinking. He's been in every draft I've done so far, but I've only done a couple of attempts, and I just put him in to see if I could see what I could afford with him. And obviously, a lot of drafts have got him and Gakpo, so you've got the two of them in there now. Perhaps you're thinking I won't put Van Dijk in now because there's just far more likely to concede than we originally thought. But yeah, is Gakpo worth having? I mean, the only thing about Gakpo is he is likely to play because, again, half the problem of not selecting Liverpool attackers is you don't know who's going to get dropped. But Ekitike got injured last night. Isak, who's well out of form, Isak's probably likely to start up front. And it'll be Gakpo and Salah either side of him. So that's
Wirtz might be back in training apparently soon this week. Okay. I don't think it's quite as clear cut as we think.
Maybe not. Maybe they're just a hard avoid then, mate. Completely.
I honestly think they are. I think it's a FOMO thing personally, but we will see. We've had some shouts on free hit. Let's just have a look. Sorry, just O'Reilly has started 8 of the last 9. And Aitnori got subs, so yeah. FPL Fergi says O'Reilly is the real deal. Eddie Casey mentions Gibbs White and also Harvey Barnes, who's electric last week. Apparently, according to Keith Ledger, Aston Villa have rotated heavily tonight, which will be good. So it'll be interesting to see around Cash and Rodgers in particular. Let us know.
Oh, okay, I'll have a look. They kick off in about half an hour, don't they? Yeah.
And Andy9 says, don't bother with Salah. We've had a super chat off El Chivers. Says, Gabriel replacement until 19. He says, VVD. Timber. There we go. That was, Is he a man, Timber? Just get him in.
Yeah. Or Saliba, if you've already got Timber, get Saliba. Yeah.
He says Timber. So Timber is the answer there. He says, Simon Ashby says, would Salah beat Fergie in a 1st to 5 frames classic down the snooker club? Sure that, Simon. Depends how many beers I have. Honestly, we'll see about that. But yeah, let's have a quick look now ahead. We're not going to dwell on it, but we're not going to be here before Game Week 14. But yeah, Game Week 14 is kind of it's back to normal a little bit, isn't it? And it's and all of a sudden we turn our heads from Brentford and Villa players smashing it back to the
reality, the harsh reality of rotation in December. Exactly. Absolutely. And we said last week there's something like 9 game week deadlines in 6 weeks or something. I mean, it's crazy. There's Crystal Palace have 14 matches, including the one tonight or something, or including last week's one before the 7th of January. So the time at this time is, if you're going to use your free transfers, make sure you're getting a player in from game week 14 who is nailed, and everybody in this graphic is nailed, and I think that's the purpose of this. And you may already have several of these players in your team, in which case, well done, and just get the one you don't have, or keep the ones you have, because all of these guys aren't hugely owned by everybody, but there's a case for getting them all in. I mean, Minte certainly still a buy. He looks great. Returned straight away for me as I bought him, and he'd been knocking on the door for weeks. He looks the real deal. He looks a great pick for Brighton over these fixtures, and is perhaps the least known out of all these. I mean, Bruno Fernandes just becomes a player that will play every game for United through December. He won't miss one unless he gets brutally injured. He was even in a ski boot 2 days before he played, didn't he? When everyone saw him pictured on his sofa, and he got off the sofa and played. Outstanding. I think we had, if you bought United players last week, a lot of people went in on Cunha, who couldn't turn on the Christmas lights and ended up being unable to play. against Everton.
Was it David Seaman who dropped a jar of mayo on his toe and broke his toe, and he was out for a month or something a few years ago?
Unbelievable. Yeah, the Cole Palmer stubbed his toe, didn't he, last week? But yeah, I think Mbeumo, it's probably too late to buy Mbeumo. If you want to buy him this week against Palace, you'll get another couple of games out of him before he goes to AFCON, but you probably missed the boat on buying Mbeumo with a free transfer now. So Bruno's the one to buy if you don't have a United mid. Munoz, what more can I say about him? He's my player of the season, really.
An animal,
He's definitely worth it, and he plays every game. He just doesn't get knackered. He doesn't need to be rotated. I'm sure that Palace, when they play later, will play Sarr, play Mateta, play Munoz. They always start, they always play. But I think Mateta's getting brought off at around the hour mark now, and Sarr often doesn't complete games. So if you want a 90-minute man for Palace, then Munoz is your guy. And I will almost certainly be selling Virgil for Timber next week. I do strongly believe that if you make a mistake in FPL, don't be stubborn with it. Just correct it the following week. And this really feels like it was a mistake, and it was a mistake by many people. And I think you should fix it. I think you should just sell him for game week 14 or game week 13 if you have him.
Well, home to Sunderland.
Yeah, I don't care about the fixture. This happened with Salah and Haaland last year. Oh, just keep Haaland one more game. Just keep Haaland. You can't sell Haaland against Tottenham. They lost 4-0. You can't. You just. I'm not going into that Brentford game with no Arsenal defence. There's no way I'm doing it. I'm selling Van Dijk for Timber next week. Definitely.
Just on Saka, we had a message this week, didn't we, off Adam Hopcroft? I'm assuming you've read it, Rich. I was going to question you on it, but you will have read it. But really interesting. For those Adam's on the pod for a few years, and he's really good on picking out these stats that make you go what? And the stat he had for us this week was on Saka. In Saka has scored 4 goals and got 0 assists in his last 23 Premier League matches, which is crazy. And listen to this, Rich. Listen to this. This stat I couldn't believe. I haven't checked it. I'm assuming Adam has got this right. He says also on Sunday when he plays Chelsea, it will be exactly 1 year since he got his last Premier League assist.
Wow.
Bukayo Saka hasn't got 1 assist apparently.
All those corners that Gabriel keeps knocking
in the last calendar year.
Is that apparently right? What about all those corners that he keeps knocking over? I mean, he has got an assist last night, didn't he?
Last night in the
Champions League.
In Champions League, obviously. But this is Adam.
Yeah.
This is Statman.
Fair enough.
This is Hopta stats.
Probably true then.
He says Rice on set pieces has taken away a lot of assist appeal, but it did make me think twice about Saka. Only 4 returns in the last 23 matches. Well, it must be right. So yeah, but yeah,
he's getting Defcons. He turned into a Defcon monster, though, hasn't he? He got Defcons last 2 weeks running.
Virgil, let's pay 17 million for. And Bruno. Let's pay 25 million for Virgil, Saka, and Bruno. Not for any kind of returns. Are the Defcon? We'll just get Joe Rodon.
No, I mean Saka. I think you've got to. I still think he's the pick to have. And we haven't put Eze on here. Eze scored a hat trick. Was fantastic in the derby, but we haven't mentioned him at all pod. And he pulled a 20-pointer last week, mate. Any interest to getting Eze or not? I mean, we're just going to go completely fly over everybody's head, isn't he?
Yeah. Looking back at the fixtures for Arsenal, I think is it game week. I want to say 17 or something where it goes nice again. Away to Chelsea, home to Brentford, away to Villa. They're home to Wolves in 16. I think
you've got to hang on 3 for that.
I think so. I think that's the one. Chef Grill says, sorry, I'm assuming these stats are right, but he says Gordon hasn't returned since January. He says, how's that for a stat? I'm not sure again if it's true or not, but it's crazy if so. And Edson Martinez says Joe Rogan is a diabolical pick. I do agree with that. Let us know any other interesting stats or purposeful mistakes of the players that I'm saying, but like when for such a stats-based game, Rich, we keep picking these players who who just haven't done it, and it is crazy. Anyway, let's have a look at predicted points now. So this is for between game weeks 13 and 16, so next 4 game weeks. Haaland top unsurprisingly 33. Saka moves above Salah. They're both on 26, 27 points, and then a drop down, and these are all cluster. But Bruno, Mateta, Ahmad.
Ahmad's very high. Yeah,
he has, but he does return in most games as well. And Buemo, Rice is up. They mentioned him. I think I may be looking at Rice, mate, come game week 16. I think Raul, interestingly, Fulham's fixture. I think are pretty decent, and Muniz. I think he's ruled out for a while, haven't he?
Yeah, that's why he's up there. Yeah, Eze's mid-table there. Yeah, okay.
Eze is in there. Foden, Szoboszlai, Semenyo, Cunha, and Trossard, and then we're on to the rest. But yeah, it's probably only Ahmad in that list we haven't touched on. Rice is another interesting one, as I say. He's probably going to hang on till game week 16, but I do like him. Chef Grills likes Jacob Murphy for the coming weeks, and we haven't mentioned Harvey Barnes yet, who got the 2 goals last week.
Yeah, Barnes and Murphy and Gordon are competing for 2 spots, aren't they? And that's the issue. Probably Barnes. The reason there's no hype about Barnes, even though he scored in the Champions League last night, is that it was because he's been getting games because Gordon's been injured. Yeah. But Gordon was back last night, and you don't know who's going to start despite the form of Barnes. So it's a tricky one. So maybe that's why Murphy is preferred, because everyone thought Elanga would take his place, but it just hasn't really happened, does it? So.
I do think with Newcastle, away to Everton this week is probably, I'd leave them there, but they are back-to-back home games, 14 and 15, home to Spurs, who obviously conceded 5 and conceded, against Arsenal, 8 in 2 games. And then they're home to Burnley. So I do think maybe the week after Newcastle could come on the menu. And then they do have Sunderland away in 16 as well. Simon Ashby asks you, Rich, after such a great start, does Rich believe he can win FPL? Does he believe? Gary Anderson, what have you got to say about that?
I believe I can win it. I'd never like to say I couldn't. I believe I can get a top 1K again, but I don't know.
Come on, mate.
I don't think I can. I think you'd have to have extraordinary amount of luck. I think one day, a member of this community, a content creator, probably will win it.
You think?
I think so. I don't think it'll be me, but I think someone will come through and win it, and that'd be great, though, wouldn't it? It'd be a great thing for one of our group to win it. But yeah, I'd like to get another top 10K before I hang my boots up. Put it that way.
Indeed. We've now got the Hub AI Best Game Week 13 free hit team. A couple of surprise picks in here for me, but they are in here. Kelleher in goal. Mateus Nunes, fine. Collins is in there. Munoz, probably 3 of the top sort of 6 or 7 picks there. Saka and Foden make it. Also Bruno and Ahmad. They're just mad on these Uniteds. Away to Palace. I must say I find that a tough sell personally. Haaland, Mateta, and Thiago up front. Probably the template 3 there.
Doesn't like Villa, does it?
No. It doesn't.
Why?
It doesn't. But then Rodgers, Rodgers' stats before last week's match weren't great.
They did too much damage early in the season, doing nothing. So therefore, their expected stats are going to still be clawing their way up from the abyss, aren't they? That's why the algorithm doesn't like them. So yeah, that's quite surprising.
I just can't. Isn't it? I can't do it. As much as I trust and love the AI, I just can't go with two United mids. Not even one. I just think I think they may.
Yeah, there's a lot of love. There's a lot of love for Bruno on free hits. I can't see it.
He's in a away game. Sensational.
Away to Palace
on the trot.
But yeah, maybe it must be FPL Review must like him, or Solio must like him, or something like that, and therefore, a number of creators out there must just think, well, I'm going with him. I can't see it this week. You can swing.
FOMO, mate.
You can swing against Bruno this week on free.
Salah and Bruno. I mean,
yeah, no, not for me.
of a laugh in the chat for me anyway. I thought it was quite funny. Chef Grills has been shouting in the chat for everything in capitals, and someone said, "Stop putting in capitals." And he put, "Aha, sorry, lad. Caps lock jammed." Like he can only shout. I like that. That's brilliant.
You put Bruno in capitals as well, did you?
Exactly. Let's have a quick look at the best wildcard team. I don't think there's too many people wildcarding this week, but we've got Petrovic and Dabrabka, Munoz, Richards, and Senesi. Just want to shout out, someone in the chat earlier said that, I think it was FPL Freddy maybe, said that Senesi and Munoz, I think, are both on 4 bookings. Is that right? I'm sure that's what
that's right. I mean, it's not too bad. Obviously not a problem for 3 hits, but it might be a problem if you buy either of these players this week and then they get they get suspended for rotation central next week, because actually game week 14, although we haven't talked a huge amount about it, and we're not going to get a pod in before then, there's going to be a lot of rotation midweek next week, so you don't want suspended players. So Soboslai, Munoz, Senesi, there is talk as well that Munoz might, kind of throw a yellow card in there so he misses the Burnley game. And then
a cheeky little pullback on the halfway line,
or kick the ball away or something silly like that, so that he gets a rest against Burnley, and then he's clear from that on and doesn't miss such a major game afterwards. I mean, look, we're all just hypothesizing, right? But you can see it happening, can't you, for such a small squad? Ball yellows.
Saka, Bruno, Declan Rice, we mentioned earlier, makes the wildcard team, as well as Elliot Anderson, probably because of price, but Semenyo is on the bench, so that's the reason why.
I get the logic here, but again, I would say where the algorithm needs to learn, why would you wildcard without at least one Arsenal defender in there? Probably 2, given their form, given the number of games you've got to hold this squad now for before you wildcard again in like game week 30. You've got to have this team for 18 weeks, and you're not going to put any Arsenal defenders in there. You're just going to have to transfer them in down the line. I just think, yes, Palace are good, but you don't want double Palace defence at this stage. I know I'm talking subjectively, but that just seems very logical to me to have. You've got to have an Arsenal defender in there, and Timber's form is so good that I think you've got to have him.
Well, you're speaking from a position of authority, mate, because normally the AI is ahead of us, but I think
you're I can't beat the AI week to week. I mean, my Rich against the machine pick, he didn't even start last week, so what do I know? But I do think Arsenal defence needs to be in there. But I like the Thiago pick. I'd possibly think about dropping Mateta actually at this stage, but there we go. They still like him.
Fergie is a punt for game week 13. Not truly excited. I didn't realize how popular this guy was on free hit. It's pretty much a vibes pick. I love watching him play. I think he's very exciting to watch. He's played 12 times this season, 3 goals, 2 assists, 19 shots, 7 on target, 19 shots in the box. His stats are pretty good, and they got the plum fixture home to Burnley. He's a lot highly owned on free hit than I realized, but I think he's definitely going to be in my team. I actually picked this chap out as my punt around about game week 4 or 5 because he looked so dangerous, but I really like the look of Kevin Schade, and he is going to make my team this week. And I think when Brentford's fixtures improve overall, which they looks like they're going to do from about game week 16, they go Leeds home in 16, Wolves away in 70. Could be a wild card pick there for you, Rich. But I think it looks a good shout, and I'm all for him. I really, really like him. I thought he was a bit unlucky because he's kind of in and out the team with the whole Tony and Buemo, Lewis Potter sort of era, but I think he's made his way in. He's done well. So he is my punt for game week 13, and we've got Rich against the machine for game week 13. Who are you going for this week, mate?
Well, we haven't mentioned him too much tonight so far. I mean, last week I picked Florian Wirtz, who then the following day got announced he was injured. So that
you deserve everything you get for picking Florian Wirtz.
Certainly won't be doing that again. But I've been sort of trying to scour the predicted points for players that are kind of like, predicted less than 3 points or less than 2 points, and so that I pick up a win through appearance points. So at least this week I'm confident that my player, certainly over the next game is gonna exceed his expected points, and I'm going to go for Matthew Cash this weekend against Wolves. He's definitely got a goal in him from outside the box, and I think Wolves rank 20th out of 20 for worst expected goals away from home. So therefore, I highly expect a Villa clean sheet, and will probably be doubling on their defence in my free hit. So yeah, Matthew Cash is in for me as my Rich Against the Machine pick.
Interesting pick here, mate. Interesting point here, just while we are talking about Villa as well, is that I was a bit torn on whether, because I like the double Villa defence there as well. Now, the team this evening, the only probably surviving first team players, they've got Martinez, Pau Torres, Onana, Tielemans, Rodgers are probably the only surviving ones, but both Cash and Luca Dean are both benched this week, which definitely hints towards. And I like Luca Dean as well.
Yeah, them starting.
That may help my decision for my free hit, because I wasn't sure. Best game week 13 captain, Rich. I mean, I don't think there's too much point talking about this. Haaland is going to be an absolute landslide. If you were going against Haaland, or who's your vice going to be?
It would have to be Thiago or something like that. I'd have to sort of back. I'd have to back one of the players, with the high upside. You could possibly go for another City player. You could go for Foden or Doku. Yeah. You could go for Thiago. I wouldn't pick a Villa player just because their overall expected goals is not as high. I think Brentford will probably win more convincingly. Again, I'd default the vice to Salah, but it would just be laziness, wouldn't it? It would just be laziness and nostalgia that would lead to that.
It'd be muscle memory, mate.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's right. It's like picking up a golf club, isn't it? But yeah, no, it's funny. Difficult. It's just going to be 99.5% Haaland captaincy. So if you're triple captaining Haaland, you're really only getting nothing of a differential out of it. Yeah, there isn't really any other candidate this week, is there, other than Haaland?
And looking at the market odds for Game Week 13, Man City far and away are projected to score 2.62 goals, or up to three goals, and they're also highest for clean sheets as well. So back in the whole theory of the Haaland, Foden, or Doku, O'Reilly, or Nunes sort of thing there. Second are Liverpool, 2.1 in terms of goals, who we've just completely dismissed. And third are Brentford, actually, Rich, interestingly, at home to Burnley, with Villa just behind. And Brentford and Villa, along with Man City, are top for clean sheet potential. Palace, interestingly, only 25% chance. So the whole Munoz thing, it looks like it's they're projecting a close game there with 1.64 goals of Palace.
Yeah, that's a difficult one to call, but similar to the Chelsea Arsenal, right? So if you look at those things, it's just about adding up to 3 goals in both the Palace, Man United and Chelsea Arsenal games, and they're both really difficult to call. I mean, Chelsea destroyed Barcelona on Tuesday, so that I don't know if you saw that game, but Estevao scored an unbelievable goal, and I think that'll be quite an interesting game. Chelsea Arsenal, I can see both teams scoring, and so hopefully I won't suffer that much without the Arsenal defence. But yeah. Looks good, mate. I do think it lends itself. I've seen graphics up where there just isn't that that real skewed variance of fixtures, and we've got that this week, which means it's a good week to free hit. You can really target some matches, and it's not flat. But you've also got those 2 fixtures that do look like difficult to call. Possibly 1-1 draws, possibly away wins, possibly home wins. You can't really call Palace United or Chelsea Arsenal. And you've got in the template, you've got 7, 8, 9 players in the template from those 4 teams.
And looking at the captain then for game week 40, maybe a little less straightforward. Some toughish games. City away to Fulham, who have been pretty decent defensively, Fulham, the last few weeks. It's got to be said. Arsenal home to Brentford, which not going to be an easy game. Palace away to Burnley. Liverpool home to Sunderland, United home to West Ham. What's your current thinking, Rich? Who was your captain?
I think this is a better week to take it on if you want to take it on in the week. You might want to say, if United had played better against Everton, I would have thought this would have been a really good week to maybe go for an Mbeumo or something like that in that game. You've got Mbeumo, haven't you, in your revert team? I think he could be. We haven't talked about him much tonight. He got a 1-pointer, got himself booked, strangely enough, in the Everton game. But I think he could be a really good candidate at home to West Ham. Saka against Brentford is another one. We won't talk about Liverpool because they're not really backable at the minute. Maybe Cunha, if he comes through the weekend and looks good and he plays in the 9. I would go for a United or an Arsenal game player if I wanted to take Haaland on next week.
Yeah,
definitely more of a game week 14 play than 13 then.
Thursday night match as well. The final match of the game week, United and West Ham as well. Yeah, interesting. I'm on Haaland at the moment, but again, there'll be lots of things I think that will happen over the weekend, and it's such a short turnaround. You just never know. Haaland may, just go off in the 89th minute, and he may just touch the back of his knee as he walks, and you're just like, everyone's like, oh, and it'll be, who knows? Yeah. So we shall see. Rich, we've now got your team up, your current team for Game Week 13, which we will ignore because you are, well, I suppose you can look at Game Week 14. Anything to add, really?
I think the only thing I'm likely to do is, my defense is not good for Game Week 14. So I've got 500,000. So I will highly likely make one defensive transfer. And if there's no sign of any improvement in Liverpool, I will almost certainly swap Virgil for Timber. It seems a bit like a luxury transfer because they're home to Sunderland, are they, in midweek? And I don't even trust him for that, to be honest. I think I've got to have an Arsenal defender in there, so I'll probably spend it on that for 14 and 15, because otherwise I could lose out heavily to the Horde there. The rest of the team looks fine. Semenyo, I think, is okay now. He's back training, so that flag will disappear, and there's no need to make any further transfers. I don't think I'll be taking a hit. I don't fancy Van de Ven much. I don't really fancy Spurs much in their current form. So I could swap Van de Ven out for who Bournemouth got. I could swap him out for Senesi or something like that, and keep Van Dijk. That might be a more sensible thing to do. But I'll probably make a transfer in defence, and then I'll have one more to make in Game Week 15 before the AFCON transfers come or the Wildcard.
Lovely stuff, mate. And now we've got your free hit, your current free hit team up. Do you want to talk us through it?
I will, yeah. I've gone for Martinez in goal, and I will either go 4-4-2. I know this shows a 3-5-2 setup, but I'll either go 4-4-2 and have Cash, Vandenberg, and O'Reilly at the back. At the moment, I'm thinking about keeping Munoz just because of his form, but I will watch Palace tonight and take a note of his minutes, and may just go for a 3 at the back without Munoz. But I will probably go for Martinez, Cash, Vandenberg, and O'Reilly as my defence on free hit. Then at the moment, I've gone for Doku over Foden. Salah is in there, and I did have Gakpo in an earlier draft. But this pod's really taught me out of Liverpool. You've been so down on them that I might take Salah out altogether.
I just can't see Liverpool scoring 2 or 3 goals away to West Ham. I just can't see it. Yeah.
So Salah's in at the moment purely because he can fit in. I've kept Sarr at the minute because I did have Gakpo in there, and I thought, no, I'll just keep Sarr, see how he gets on. So having 1 Palace, I think, is likely. I probably won't have 2 Palace against United. So I'll probably just keep 1, as I do think you might as well change 9 or 10 players when you free hit. Sharda's in, like your pick. Rodgers is in. Actually, the only transfer I've made this week was to sell Semenyo for Rodgers because there was a 0.2 swing on Tuesday night. So I got Rodgers for Semenyo just temporarily. And up front, I've got the template of Haaland and Thiago. So it's not the absolute template. I've seen most templates have got a midfield 5 with Foden in, Salah, and Gakpo. So you haven't taught the the community out of double Liverpool, but it does seem a bit silly, doesn't it, given their form?
I think the double, I can understand one just because of the fixture, to cover the fixture, but I can't understand two. I think you only go for two when you feel a team is going to score 3, 4, 5 goals, but like Liverpool just haven't looked like that at all. But yeah, looking at my team, which will I be going into game week 14 with, because I'm free hitting this week. I'll have Petrovic at home to Everton. I'll have Munoz at Burnley. Virgil home to Sunderland, Timber home to Brentford. I'll then have Saka at Brentford, and Buemo home to West Ham, Enzo against Leeds, Sarr home to Burnley, Semenyo home to Everton, Haaland away to Fulham, and Mateta away to Burnley. So as it stands, that 11, notwithstanding that my bench is poor, and I may have to make a transfer depending on that. But at the moment, it stands all being equal, and any other kind of cliche I can make around that, I'm pretty happy for 14. Looking at the free hits this week, I may make a couple of changes, but I've gone for Kelleher in goal, Munoz, Cash. Now, O'Reilly's minutes here have changed. He's only showing at 1.8 predicted points here, but it is now up to 4.2. And that's for O'Reilly. Then I've gone for Foden, Sharda, Sarr, and Rodgers. And I've gone for Haaland, Mateta, and Thiago at the moment. Got Gakpo first on the bench and Timber on the bench, actually. All
you got a lot of money, haven't you? Can you afford all that?
Yeah, and 2 million in the bank. It's because there's no Salah. That's the thing.
That's right, because no Salah.
That's what happens when you're on no Salah. You can just have whoever you want. So, and sometimes it's awkward because I've got a lot of players who I've got my own. I really like the look of Luca Dean now. That I actually like the look. If I was going for an absolute pure punt that I know what no one will go for, really low ownership,
such a troll,
but a really good. No, this is another player, but a really good player who is practically guaranteed now to start on the weekend against the worst team in the league. Watkins is the ultimate, sort of anti FPL pick at the moment. So.
Yeah, you'll probably have him. You'll get be on 100% of his points or something like that when you put him in. Be incredible.
Yeah, I am tempted now. He's been dropped. I'm tempted to go for, but then I can only pick 3 out of Cash, Luca Dean, Rodgers.
Is he playing tonight, Watkins?
No, he's on the bench.
Tonight?
He's on the bench. Okay. That's what I mean. Whereas Rodgers is playing tonight. So we will see. But there's a pool of another 4 or 5 players are on there. I really like Doku, just as an example.
I
really like to get him in as well. Like I could go for Luca Dean and go for double Villa defense, drop O'Reilly, and go for Doku, Foden, and Haaland to really attack the game week. I think
I'm starting to like that.
Yeah, they're all such attacking players. So I'm tempted by that. But yeah, I'm close to it. I'm definitely free hitting. I haven't hit the button yet because I don't need to, because I'm definitely not going Salah. So I'm going to give this all a bit of thought tomorrow, and I'll do my write up on the hub then. But yeah, interesting chat there, mate, and certainly kind of helped me clear my mind for the next few weeks. And let's say, as we know, all we can do is plan with what we know at the moment.
It's all about putting yourself in the position to get lucky, and that's all you're doing.
Like that, mate. Good stuff. Okay, well, that is it from us for this week. Thank you so much to everyone who joined in the chat. Those who are going to watch it back and those listening on the podcast versions, your support is very, very much appreciated. Thank you, Rich. Where can people get hold of you?
At Rich Clarke FPL on X.
Good stuff. And thank you to Scott pulling the strings behind the scenes as usual. Good stuff. My handle on X is at FFH_Fergi. This podcast and video will be on the Fancy Football Hub YouTube channel with the podcast versions available on all major podcast platforms. If you like what you watch, please press the like button. Remember to subscribe to the channel. If you enjoyed your listen, please rate the podcast, leave us 5 stars and a comment. It would be much, much appreciated. We will be back next week, and we'll be looking ahead to game week 15. We may, if we go on the Thursday, Rich, there'll still be the United West Ham game to play
taking place. Right, okay.
That'll be interesting. But in the meantime, have a fantastic game week 13 and 14, and may all your arrows be green. Good night, all.